Recording started.
Hey guys, welcome back. This is going to be an audio video test of the VIOFO A119 Mini. Right now I'm speaking to you live directly to the camera. The resolution setting is 2K at 60 frames per second, and the bit rate is set to high, which is 30 megabit per second. And I do have the CPL filter installed, and this is the most current up-to-date firmware. I'll put a link to that down below in the description box.
Recording started.
Hey guys, welcome back. This is going to be an audio video test of the VIOFO A119 Mini. I'm speaking to you live directly to the camera. The resolution is set to 2K at 60 frames per second, and the bit rate is set to high, which is 30 megabit per second. And I've got the most current up-to-date firmware in here. I'll put a link to that down below in the description box. And I have removed the CPL filter. Hey guys, welcome back. First off, this is a sponsored review. The nice folks at VIOFO were kind enough to send me the all-new, just released A119 Mini for test and review. And they also included some nice optional accessories like the Hardwire kit to fully enable parking mode, a CPL filter which drastically reduces windshield glare, and a VIOFO brand industrial SD card, so keep that in mind. And second of all, this is a collaboration. I reached out to two gentlemen that I consider subject matter experts in the dash cam industry. And that's because I've only been into dash cams for 2 years, and I consider myself a very basic amateur. So I'd like to give a shout out to Drecky Tech Channel and Retro Car Guy 530. They've also been sent samples of the A119 Mini, and they've got reviews on this camera, and I'll put a link to their videos down below in the description box. So it should be fun to see the difference between all three of our reviews. Okay, so first I'd like to talk about the history of the A119 series, and then I want to talk about my full quality test footage playlist, and then I want to talk about the differences between the last generation V3 and this new Mini. And then I want to talk about my heat testing, power consumption, data file size, and Wi-Fi transfer speeds, and finish it up with pros and cons and final thoughts. So I'll put chapters at the bottom of your screen here, so feel free to skip around to save some time. And everything I talk about I'll put links to down below in the description box. Okay, so I mentioned this camera is all new. Well, basically there's nothing new about it. This camera, the A119 series, the very first one came out in 2016, and since then we've had the S, the Pro, the V2, the V3, and now in 2022 we've got the Mini. So over the years they keep evolving and improving the camera with customer feedback, and they keep filling it with already existing technology that they have in their other dash cams. So it's got proven technology in it, is what I'm trying to say. Okay, a quick word on the my test footage playlist. So the test footage clips at the beginning of this video you watched, even though the camera was filming at 2K at 60 frames per second, I don't have proper video editing software. So when I put the clips together, it defaults it to 1080p at 30 frames per second. And basically what that means is what you saw was half the resolution and half the frame rate. So I put all of my test footage clips in a playlist, and if you want to see what this thing really looks like, click on that playlist and you can see those videos, and the difference is huge. The resolution is twice as much, and the frame rate is twice as high, so there'll be less motion blur. Okay, so a lot of people are going to be interested in this camera because they previously owned the V3 or they know about it, and they want to know if it's worth it to upgrade or to get one of these. So I've come up with a list of what's different, what's the same, and what's the difference between the last generation V3 and the new Mini. So starting off, what's the same is they both have the same Sony STARVIS IMX335 sensor. They both have the same f1.6 aperture. They're both capable of 2K at 60 frames per second, which is 2560 by 1440. They both have a 140-degree field of view, and they both have a max capacity of SD card of 256 gig. Now, as far as the differences goes, the V3 uses the older Novatek processor 96670, and the Mini has a new upgraded 96580. The V3 has a 2-inch LCD screen, the Mini has a 1.5-inch screen. And big news here, the V3 did not have Wi-Fi or Bluetooth capability, and the Mini has dual band 2.4 and super fast 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi. And this enables you to use the optional remote to lock files, and that can come in real handy because a lot of people buy two of these cameras and put one on the rear window, and there's no way to press the lock button when you're driving. So if you've got the remote, now you can lock a file when this camera is on the rear window. And they've gone away from the USB Mini power cable connection, and they've upgraded to the USB Type-C. And this is big news because basically the Type-C cable interface has a capability to run a lot more power and current, and I think this is going to fix a lot of issues and malfunctions with low power shutdown or low power malfunction issues writing to the SD card, because it's being starved for power, because sometimes people use a longer USB cable or they use an aftermarket power charger, and the camera is starved for power. So by going up to the Type-C interface cable, I think that's going to fix a lot of the problems, because that cable can run a lot more current and power through it. And the next difference is the old one had the 4-pin GPS mount, and the Mini has this new 5-pin GPS mount. And this does two things. When the camera is connected with the Hardwire kit, it has the capability to disable power to the GPS module, and this does two things. It further reduces the power supply and increases the power efficiency, and it also turns off the GPS module so it's not constantly trying to pull a signal, and this should increase the life of the GPS module. And the last thing is the V3 had beep notifications, so anytime there was a problem with the SD card or it stopped recording, it would just beep at you. And what they've done now is they've put in the voice notifications from the T130 and the A119, so it tells you exactly what's going on and what it's doing. So right now I want to play those voice notifications for you.
Please insert a memory card. Memory card error. Please format the card. Memory card format successful. Voice recording disabled. Voice recording enabled. Wi-Fi enabled. Wi-Fi disabled. Wi-Fi connected. Video protected. Parking recording started. Recording started.
Okay, now I want to talk about my heat testing. And I call this my gentle heat test because this does not include direct sunlight, but it does include baking the camera in my garage when it gets up to 100 degrees. So I set the camera in normal recording mode, 2K 60 frames per second, high bit rate. And for the past month, I come out here and I start the camera at 8 a.m. and I let it run till 8 p.m. usually. And we've had two good recent heat waves, and the temperature high for the day was 100 degrees Fahrenheit. And when we have those heat waves, my garage gets 99 degrees Fahrenheit, and inside my car interior it gets 93 degrees. And at about 5 p.m., the hottest part of the day, I would come out and I would measure the camera with my infrared pyrometer here, and the camera would get all the way up to 159 degrees Fahrenheit. And this kind of impresses me because the maximum specification is 149 degrees Fahrenheit. So that means it's running 10 degrees hotter than the specification. And I've recorded no malfunctions of any kind. The camera did not shut off. The camera did not stop recording, and I did not lose any files on the SD card. And I really think that's in part to how well they've ventilated the case on this camera. They've got a really good vent on this side right here. They've got a vent on this side right here. And they've got this new bottom vent that I think draws in cool air from the bottom. And then it's also got a vent right here on the top that works like a chimney to exhaust all that heat right out the top. Because when I was measuring with my heat gun, the hottest part of the camera was right here at the top. So I really think they've done a good job with the heat dissipation of this camera. And I just so happen to have a 129 series for a size comparison. And when you look at them side by side, the Mini is just a little bit slimmer in the profile like that. But when you hold them side by side like this, you can see the Mini has has some wide curvy hips right in this area right here. All right, the next thing I want to know is power consumption, how much power this thing runs, or how much power this thing uses. So I set up the camera to normal recording mode, 2K 60 frames per second, high bit rate, and I like measuring it with my Fluke 115 multimeter because this has a reputation for being accurate, and it also has a nice min-max feature because the power, it kind of oscillates, it goes up and down. And with the min-max feature, I can gather what the average current draw is. And that is 275 milliamps at 12.6 volts, which is converted to wattage is 3.4 watts. And the next thing I want to know is how long this thing can run on a power bank. So I've got a power bank here, and this is a cheap $10 Walmart power bank, and it's rated at 20,000 milliamp, which is 74 watt hours. And I hooked it up to that, and the camera ran for 21 hours 33 minutes. And then I realized this power bank is probably 2 or 3 years old, so I thought I should check the capacity. So I got one of these USB power testers, and let me show you how this works. This is really neat. You plug it into your power brick when you're charging it up, and it tells you the voltage, the amperage, the time, how long it's been charging, and then it puts the capacity right here in milliamp hours. And what I found out is this thing has degraded over time, and I've got just under 19,000 milliamp, which is 70 watt hours, and it took 10 hours and 35 minutes to recharge. And the reason why I'm saying this is because a lot of people like to use these, but one word of caution when you're using a USB power bank is you really don't want to leave these in a parked hot car, because I think we've all seen those videos of cars burning to the ground because a cell phone or something like that exploded when it was being charged in a hot car. So that's why they make these dedicated dash cam battery packs because these have a different battery chemistry. Instead of lithium ion or lithium polymer, these are made out of lithium iron phosphate, and they're basically guaranteed not to explode in a parked hot car when they're running a dash cam or any other accessory. But the problem with these is the price. These started around $400, and you can get a power bank for around $10. So keep that in mind. And even though the power bank does have some applications, like if you don't live in a hot region, or say you leave your car in a parking garage where there's no direct sunlight, that might be an option. Alright, now let's talk about SD cards and data capacity and Wi-Fi transfer speeds. So I just found this document on the VIOFO website. I've never seen this before, but now they actually have an actual recommendation on what memory cards you should use in their cameras. And of course they've got the VIOFO here, they've got the Samsung Pro Endurance, they've got the SanDisk Max Endurance, not to be confused with the High Endurance, and the SanDisk Extreme. And they've even got a list of cards that are not recommended, and that's the Samsung Evo Select, Pro Plus, Evo Plus, and Evo Select. And as far as data recording, I did some tests here, and setting up the camera for normal recording mode, 2K 60 frames per second, 1 minute of video creates a 192 megabit file size. And with this 64 gigabit card I was testing with, on the high bitrate setting, which is 30 megabit per second, I was getting 5 hours, and the medium bitrate of 25 megabit per second is 5 hours 30 minutes, and on the low bitrate of 18 megabit per second you can get 7 hours 15 minutes. And if you want to utilize the parking mode bitrates, time lapse is 25 megabit per second, motion detection is 8 megabit per second, and low bitrate is real low at 4 megabit per second. So the parking mode can really increase your record times and data storage. And some other big news is this Wi-Fi transfer speeds. It's got the next generation Wi-Fi, I believe. And so to download this 1 minute 192 megabit file size on the 2.4 gigahertz band, it took 52 seconds to download. And then when I switched it over to the 5 gigahertz band, it downloaded it in 18 seconds, which is around 3 times as fast. And I really like that, because that's how I download my files directly to my iPhone SE 2020 running the VIOFO app version 2.8. And just for giggles, I tried doing that same test on my 129 series, and the best it could do was that 52 second for a 1 minute video. So 3 times as fast is really, really nice. Alright, let's finish this up with my pros and cons. So after using this thing every single day for the past month, I'm going to say my pros are: it has excellent image quality, it has excellent reliability and durability, and I think that's directly related to the excellent heat dissipation of this new case. And it's got excellent tech support and firmware updates. This company, VIOFO, they've been in business for over a decade, and they really are committed to taking customer feedback and emails and fixing their problems with a firmware update, or getting an answer, or helping out users after the sale's been done. And I'm going to say it has an excellent smartphone app. I've been using the app for the past 2 years, and it's never failed me, and I've never had a problem with it. And my next pro is that new 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi, because it's 3 times faster. And my next pro is the USB Type-C connection, and that's because those cables have a high current capability. So that's going to fix a lot of the low power malfunctions. And my last is the voice notifications. It's really nice to know what the camera's doing, whereas before it would just beep at you and you didn't know what was going on. Okay, now as far as cons, I was scraping the bottom of the barrel trying to come up with something. So what I came up with on cons is the audio volume is a little bit too low for my taste. And I say that because I'm comparing it with my A129 Plus. The good news is they're currently working on a firmware update to fix that low volume. And my next con is they do not include an SD card with the purchase price of the camera. And I really think that's a con because the average consumer, when they buy these dash cams, they don't understand the difference between a normal SD card and a high endurance SD card, and they don't understand the speed classes because it can be so confusing. And what they do is they usually buy the cheapest SD card they can find, put it in there, and then the camera malfunctions or it doesn't write properly, and then they blame the camera. It's kind of like those people that buy a high performance car and then run it on low octane gas and the engine doesn't run right. So what I'm trying to say is this is a high performance camera and it really deserves a high performance SD memory card. And as far as my final thoughts, my prediction is this camera is going to continue to be the best budget dash cam of 2023. And no matter what dash cam you buy, the A119 Mini can be used as a comparison benchmark for image quality, reliability, tech support, and the smartphone app. Alright, that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.